everyone, welcome back to my channel. Hola a todos, bienvenidos a mi canal. So in today's video, we are going to talk about the difference between a principal and a derivative applicant. If you have already started filling out forms I485 or I864, you may have noticed where they're asking you to list out principal and derivative applicants. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the difference between the two, and also I will go through some parts of these forms where you may have felt confused. The easiest way to remember it is a principal applicant will always have a separate petition filled out for them, and a derivative applicant is a spouse of a principal applicant or an unmarried child under the age of 21 of the principal applicant. However, derivative applicants are the ones who do not have a separate petition filled out for them. Let's look at some examples. Say you are a US citizen petitioner and you are petitioning for both of your parents. Each of your parents is your immediate relative, and therefore each of them will receive a separate petition I-130. So each of your parents are going to be the principal applicants. If we look at Form I-485, Part 2, where it is asking information about your immigrant category, as you can see, it says, if you are the principal applicant, provide following information. So here you would be providing information for one of your parents, for example. If the person applying in this particular petition doesn't have a receipt number or priority date, you can just put not applicable. However, if you look down, it says if you're a derivative applicant, provide the following information for the principal applicant. Over here, you will be just putting not applicable in this area because their name as the principal applicant will already be listed in the beginning of this form. And also in the next part of I-485, where it says information about your marital history, one of your parents will obviously be filling out this form, and they're going to be mentioning their spouse's name, for example, your other parent. However, under question 10, where it asks, is your current spouse applying with you? You are going to say no, because one of your parents who is filling out this form I-485 is going to be the principal applicant, and your other parent will also be a principal applicant. Because they're not derivatives on each other's applications, they're going to have to say no under this question. Now, also, let's look at the affidavit of support form as well for this situation. In part 3, where it's asking about information about the immigrants you're sponsoring. So in here, you are going to answer yes to question 1. I'm sponsoring the principal applicant. So that would be one of your parents. Again, remember, you will be filling out a separate one for each of your parents. And then the rest, you will leave blank. Question 2, you will leave blank. In question 3, you will also leave blank. And also the consecutive areas where it says provide names of family members immigrating at the same time, family number 1, 2, you will also leave this blank. You will not be putting your other parents' information on here because this area is designated for derivative applicants. So let's look at another example. Say, for example, you are a US citizen petitioning for your brother. And your brother is also planning to bring his entire family, say for example, a spouse and 2 children with him as well. Your nieces and nephews and your sister-in-law in this situation are not immediately related to you. So what's going to happen is in these forms, in Form I-485, your sister-in-law and her children are going to be filling out their own I-485 forms, and each of them will then be a derivative applicant, and they will be putting in the principal applicant's name in this part, which is your brother's name.
So I wanted to make a quick note here. I did notice that since Form I-485 was updated in the past couple of months, there are some changes in Part 2 where it asks you to provide your application type or filing category, and the box that was here before asking whether or not you are a primary or derivative applicant is no longer there. And when you look in the special instructions for the Form I-485, it does say that if you are a principal applicant, check the appropriate box in Part 2, item numbers 1. And if you are a derivative spouse or child of the principal applicant, check the appropriate box in Part 2, item numbers 1 of Form I-485 as well. So it appears to me that the derivative applicants will also have to select basically the same category as the principal applicant. So, like in our example where U.S. citizen is petitioning for their brother, the brother on his adjustment of status application will select the second box, other relative of a U.S. citizen, and it makes logical sense for the brother's spouse and children to select the same category here as well. This is not 100% confirmed. However, based on what I am reading in the instructions, this is what I took from it.
Also, moving on, when your brother fills out his own I485, like I mentioned before in Part 5, Question 10, where it says, is your current spouse applying with you? In this situation, your brother will put yes, because his spouse is going to be the derivative applicant applying at the same time. And as you can see, in Part 6, it will be asking, for example, to indicate your brother's children's names as well, child number 1 and 2, and then it will ask after each, is this child applying with you? And your brother will also have to put yes when he fills out his own I-485 form. Now also in the I-864 form, when you're filling out this information to sponsor your brother, you are going to answer yes under number 1, and then under number 2, you will also check off number 2, for example, if his spouse, your sister-in-law, and your nieces and nephews are coming with them. And then you will be putting in their names under family member 1, family member 2, etc., etc. Now, again, when it comes to household size, please check out my I-864 videos where I talk about different parts of I-864 that you need to remember, that you need to pay close attention to, and I also made a separate video talking about calculating household size for I-864. If you are filling out separate petitions, like in our first example, you filled out 2 separate petitions for each of your parents, you are not going to be including each of your parents in the household size. And again, please look at my household size video where I actually gave a lot of different examples telling you how to calculate household size. And again, if you are filling out this for your sibling, for example, and their entire family, you will have to count them.
Also, another note here, while you will have to submit a separate I-485 form for the principal and derivative applicants, you do not have to fill out a separate I-864 form for each of the derivatives. You can just make photocopies of the affidavit of support form and attach them to each of the adjustment of status applications for both the principal applicant and the derivatives.
The same rules for derivative applicants will apply to employment-based petitions as well. If you're an employer filling out an employment-based petition for somebody, the main worker that you are petitioning for will be the principal applicant, and if they are bringing their whole family with them, their spouse and children, then they will be derivatives, and you will be following all the same derivative instructions as we did for our second example here. So what's going to happen when the primary principal applicant submits their I-485 application or DS-260, which is for people who are currently outside of the United States? What's going to happen is the derivatives can go ahead and submit their adjustment of status applications at the same time. However, theirs will not be approved unless your principal applicant's petition is approved first, and then the rest will follow. So please let me know what other topics you would like me to talk about in the future. Subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are. Continue to stay safe, and I will see you in my next videos. Adios!